The last time I hosted, I didn't get a chance to do this. I always wanted to do this. And so now our speaker, Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson. Are you ready?
Yes.
Let's go.
I'm going to apologize in advance. I've known Rainica for 45 years now. Feels like it. Ooh, they feel the sympathy. So how is everyone today?
Great.
Okay, it's all good. That's fine. That's fine. So, for those who may not know, I just returned from Canada. I went to the ministers' gathering in Kelowna, which is where the spiritual director of CSL, Reverend Dr. Ken Gordon, and his wife, Dr. Dedra Gordon, where their center is. So I went there for the ministers' gathering where 160, I think, ministers from around the world gathered to talk about what it means to be a minister and what it means to be in service and all this stuff. So if at any point I begin to, it's jet lag. That's what I'm blaming it on. So today we are discussing this very interesting thing called the human family. So the theme of the month is cherishing our human family. But I have a question before we actually get into more of this stuff. Got a question for you. You ready for it?
Yes.
You going to answer it honestly?
Yes.
So have you ever questioned or wondered to yourself, what the is wrong with humanity? Like, give me some of the ways that those questions have come up to you, minus the curse words. But what are some of the ways, like, what have you wondered about humanity?
Trump, really?
Just why? What'd you say, Queenie?
I said Trump, really?
Trump, really? Just why? Thank you, Jasmine. What'd you say?
Pollution.
Pollution. Well, what about pollution? Like, how does it connect with humanity?
Just sort of
Choices.
just desecrating the ground.
It's like, come on, people, you're desecrating. Okay. Anything else?
Loss of civil manners.
Now, how the blank could they do blank?
Oh, so I'm gonna take it right there from that they. Because humanity is made up of who? Us. We are humanity. So everything we are wondering about they or them, we are they or them. But as long as we have this idea in our minds that there is another, some other, then it's always about them and what they're doing wrong or what they're not doing right or what they're doing or not doing. And it's because of them that we are suffering and moaning and groaning and pitiful and pathetic. Like it's because of the political leaders and what they are doing. It's because of how much money is involved in corporate America and medicine and big pharma, and they are the reason for. They. Pogo said, I have seen the enemy and...
It's me.
So there's this idea of cherishing our human family, but how do we do that? Right? Like, how do we get to a point of being able to cherish? First of all, how many of us cherish our biological families? We're talking about the human family. We're talking about cherishing people that you will never meet. Because we're talking about the human family. So we're talking about your great cousin Xinguao, who lives in Beijing, that you will never meet. We're talking about every relative in Egypt, every relative in Cuba, every relative in Greenland, we're talking about all of them. You will never meet some of them. You will never meet most of them. Think of how long it would take you to meet every single person in China. And I'm not saying, hello, how are you? I'm not saying just to bow and to move on. I'm saying to meet them. That would take a long time. It would take a long time to meet everybody here in the United States. How do we cherish people that we will never know? Or is it easier to cherish people we will never know because we don't have time to make them the enemy? You know, unlike family who live with us, who we grew up with, like it's easy to not like them because, you know, my older brother, stop! Right? It's easy to be angry at the older brothers and the older siblings and the older, because they pick with us and, you know, tie us up and leave us in front of the television to watch Guiding Light when we really don't want to watch that for 4 hours every day. But sorry, flashbacks.
That is abuse.
Right? That is abuse.
Guiding light is abuse.
Robin said that, not me, because I know some of y'all watch the soaps. That was Robin. No, but seriously, like, how do we get to a point where we cherish folks? Ultimately, it comes down to how do we understand what, one, that means to cherish, and then ultimately what this whole human family thing means. And anytime I think of this concept of family, this idea of home always comes to mind for me. And so, when I think of home, I think is a line that is sung in The Wiz. Anybody in here familiar with The Wiz? So if you're not familiar, I recommend you watch it. Basically, anybody who has no idea what The Wiz is, so at least everybody in here, put your hand down, Tracy. Okay, everybody in here knows what The Wiz is. Okay, so go watch, you know, the Stephanie Mills version of singing this or the Diana Ross version of Home. I mean, I'm not saying anything about anybody else, but their version, just it does something to me. But this idea of when I think of home, I think of a place where there's love and affection. I don't. Like in my own life, I don't. When I think of home, I think of a place where it took me a long time to learn how to love myself. I think of a place where I was surrounded with abuse, and there were glimmers of love and caring, but they, for a good part of my life, were far and few and in between. So when I think of home, I think of a place where there's struggle and damnation. I think of pain and many nights crying myself to sleep, praying that whatever God of my understanding at that time would kill me in my sleep. When I think of home, that's what comes to mind. And yet, because I do this work, I do this thing that we know of as spiritual practice, I also know that home means something altogether different. You know, some folks say, home is where you hang your hat. Well, if home is where you hang your hat, then that means you have chosen this place called home. And if you can choose this place to hang your hat, then you choose what makes a house a home. Then we can choose what this entire thing means if we're willing to do the work. So I want to share a little bit of something with you. So just real quick, the book of the month is The Principle of Oneness by Russell Anthony Gibbs. So a quote from the book. Choose to love every facet of yourself unconditionally. You are complex, a multidimensional being, and loving yourself requires identifying, accepting, and loving all of our seemingly separate parts. This includes your personal self, broader self, and other people, balance of the physical world, nature, activities, concepts, and the collective universe, God. Choose to love every facet of yourself unconditionally. Choose to love every facet of yourself unconditionally. Choose to love every facet of yourself unconditionally. Raise your hand if you feel like you are someone who is considered overweight. Love yourself unconditionally. Do you feel like there's something in your past that you really don't want people to know that you did? Some shame or guilt about something? If you are willing, raise your hand. Love yourself unconditionally. Is there something about yourself you really don't like, whether it's a personality quirk or some skill that you're really not good at, that you wish you were, but there's something that you're like, I just wish I didn't have, like this one random eyebrow that thing that just, like, every time I cut it, it still grows back. Like something about yourself that you don't like. Love yourself unconditionally. Love every facet of yourself unconditionally. It's a lot. And yet therein lies the work. Because what we find is when I can love myself, there's a song. I love myself so much. Anybody know the song? Know where I'm going? Join in with me. I love myself so much.
I love myself so much.
No, I'm saying, give me a
I
second
can
line.
love you so much. We can love you so much that we can be family.
No, it's like, I don't understand it. Try it again.
I love myself.
Deborah asked us to sing, so I'm asking you to sing too.
I love myself so much that I can love you so much. And we can love me so much that we can be a family. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of a real
Tracy, love every facet in yourself, girl. Unconditionally. But I love myself so much so that I can love you so much, so that you can love you so much, and then you can start loving me.
There we go.
I love myself so much. So I can love you so much that you can love you so much that you can start loving me. The law of circulation. See, it's not just about money, y'all. We think about it's time to tithe and offer up from whence we were. Law of circulation applies to every thought, every word, everything we do. What we put out, it comes back. I love me so much that that vibration goes out and transforms every man, woman, and child, every tree, every rock, every mountain, every stream, everything. It transforms that trash, that pollution that Sue spoke about, to the degree that the pollution transforms and changes because the consciousness of the people that create the pollution has changed. But I have to know, where am I polluting my mind? Where am I polluting my relationships? Where am I asking my friends and family why, instead of stepping into myself and saying, what's up with me? Where and how am I bringing, there's a passage in the Bible where it says, yo. This is my translation. yo. What's that? It's my offering. Whoa, where are you taking it? To the altar? Hold up, Holmes. So, before you put that on the altar, you need to go make peace with your brother, because I know you're angry at him. I saw what you put on email yesterday. It's on the listserv. Saw what you posted on Facebook. Until you offer this up, you need to go make amends. You need to go and make peace with your brother, because whatever you are offering up, if it is filled with the animosity and the anger and the hatred and the bitterness of, then it's what you're putting on the altar. And what you are putting on the altar is what you are planting into consciousness. And what you are planting into consciousness, by what we know, the law says yes. As you give, so shall you receive. Is that really what we want to receive? So it always comes back to this idea of what am I doing? How am I addressing who and what I am? Quick question for you. What do all of these things have in common?
Uni.
Who said that?
You.
Who said that?
Uni.
Somebody, okay, thank you, Queenie. Yes, you're, what in the, you one of them Rubik's Cube kind of folks. So, uniform, unicycle, unicorn, unisex, United States, university, universe, and unitard. If I had a gift to give you, Queenie, I would give you. So what is the point? Uni. What is uni?
I'll take care of it for you, Ray. Don't worry.
Thank you very much. What stays in Vegas happens in Vegas. So uni. What does uni mean, though? One. So there's one. So we talk about there being one family. There's only one of us. There's only one power, one presence. There's only one. One. So that even when we see multiplicity and diversity, ultimately, back of that, there is still only one. But do we practice that? Like we say it, but do we really get down to practicing that? So, actually, no, I'm going to wait. So, read this with me, for those who can see it. Ready?
Unity
Does not mean uniformity. Our unity with
people does not mean that we must think and act as they do.
Pause. Just because you are, per se, in alignment with other folks does not mean you need to think and act as they do. So, remember that group of humanity. In that group of humanity, there are those who think very different than what we do. And some of it is drastic and some of it may be minor, like, I don't eat at,
Chick-fil-A.
okay, you threw it out there. Sorry, Jim, it wasn't me this time. So there are those that, put it up, I don't eat there, you do, whatever, okay, fine. So that's it. But then there are those who, I have to blow myself up to make a point. Like there are this spectrum. What I don't need, they must not. I don't have to think and act as they do in order for there to be unity. Let's continue. All it means
Is that we should get along with them. We should unify everything, while at the same time keeping intact and whole that God gives something at the center of our being, which is spiritual ego.
So there we go. How do we learn how to get along with those that think very differently than us? Maybe those who may want, some of us did. Is there a place within that I can go in consciousness where all of that stuff no longer exists? Like, is there a place where I can see beyond the superficial ideologies and political stances and all of that stuff to go deeper to say, if it were not for that, then we would be one. Like if you weren't racist, then it would be easy for us to get along. If you weren't a homophobe, then it would be easy for us to get along. But because of that, there's a space, there is separation, there is whatever that is, a chasm of, there is that. But if it were not for that, then it would be easier. But what we do in spiritual principle is we don't focus on the effect. We understand that it's there, and we understand that it plays a part, but we don't focus on precedent. We focus on principle. And principle says that God is all there is. And so that means behind, around, and through and as every single racist on the face of the planet, every single homophobe and Islamophobe and all of it, every sexist individual, every misogynistic individual, all of them, beneath, behind, and back of, and as all of them, there is only that one power and that one presence. Now, I'm not saying that we should go find the closest KKK rally and walk up in and start hugging folks and namasteing folks. That is not what I'm saying. That is spiritual bypass. What I am saying is find the place within where we feel discord, disharmony, and disunity, and fix it there first. I cannot expect to extend my hand in love and appreciation if I am not ready and willing and able to do that within myself first. I will never have financial wealth and riches if I cannot identify my emotional, intellectual, and spiritual. If I cannot be rich inside, with and through and as me, then whatever, I will have $1 billion and still be poor. Starts within. Am I ready, willing, and able to do the work? And some of that work includes having difficult conversations. Am I willing to engage people in difficult conversations when we don't agree? I know we don't agree on that. Like, people often ask me, why do I post what I post on Facebook? To start and stir the conversations. And there have been some conversations where people were like, I don't like you. I think what you're saying is nonsense and it's BS. And so we fuss and we argue back and forth. It's not really an argument, but call it an argument. But there's a back and forth and a back and forth and a back and forth. And some of them eventually have come around to say, you know what, I didn't see it that way. Thank you for sharing that. But if I never engage them in conversation, then I never get to see where they're coming from, and they never get the opportunity to see where I'm coming from. So at least by having the conversation, Carl Jung says, and I'm paraphrasing, that if you have two chemical substances and you bring them together and there is a reaction, that's creation. So you bring someone who is black and someone who is a white supremacist together and engage in some kind of conversation, there is a reaction. And from that reaction, there is the possibility of change occurring. But if I'm not willing to do what I need to do within, then it never changes. As within, so without. As above, so below. The diversity in the human family should be the cause of love and harmony. As it is in music, where many different notes blend together in the making of a perfect chord. If there was only one key on this thing, what kind of symphonies does one make when that's all there is? Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Like, that's it. That's it. Tzipporah even frowned. She was like, oh no. We need the diversity of many sounds. The high and the low. Did I just sound like Mickey Mouse there for a second? Like, we need that, and we need the octaves. We need the black and white keys. We need all of it. We need pedals underneath. We need all of this. We need the strings, we need all of this to create the vast array of music and sound that stirs our emotions, to make us laugh and make us cry, to make us just sit back and take it in and But it's easy to do it with this because there's no emotional connection where it's like, you piano, you're just so black. I don't like there is no emotional, that's even, like you laughed at me because that's nonsense. But we do it with people. When this is out of key, out of tune, we don't fuss and cuss at it. Why can't you get an A right? But we do it with our children.
Maybe sometimes we do those.
Oh! And that's the end of today's. But maybe sometimes we do. But it's more difficult and challenging when I have to look in somebody's eye and fuss. Because I'm praying that when we do fuss at the piano's not talking back or fussing back. I hope that's in a Pixar film, so hopefully we're good. Why are you fussing at me? You the one keep pounding on me. But it's more difficult when we have to look in someone's face and be called a name and be the recipient of, or to be the one who's calling the names. Because ultimately, if we are the ones projecting the names onto another, where did they originate? They didn't even originate here. They may be channeling through the vocal cords, or if someone signs through their hands, or through the magic finger, it may be channeling through, but where did it begin? It began in mind. It began in consciousness, which means those names, that vile venom that we spew into the world, the pollution that we spew into the world is originating within our own hearts and our own minds. Even when it's not something directly towards us. And we still, that's stupid, simple, why is he fussing at Greta? Greta ain't do nothing to you, you fool! It's still the same kind of thing. Now, I'm not saying don't be angry. I'm not saying don't feel the emotions. I'm not saying just run around and be love and lollipops and daffodils and daisies all day long, because that's not going to work. Trust and believe There are days that Ray fusses. There are days that Ray is so self-righteously indignant with things and people that but I also know that there is work to be done when it comes up. And I do my best to do said work so that I'm not carrying around this cup of death and damnation and vile bile of inhumanity, and that every opportunity I get, I hate you. Oh, I hate you so much that you can hate you so much. That you can hate me so much and we can hate everyone. Like that, is that, but how many of us are actually carrying that around? And if we're going to talk about this and changing the world, then we really have to get grounded in this idea of that we are the world. It's not just a cute little song. We are the world. We are the ones who make a brighter day and start blowing stuff up. We are the ones who pollute the earth. We are, not they, we. We have to be, how many times have you heard me say, I am not my brother's keeper, I am my brother. I am not my sister's keeper, I am my sister. We, there's this meme that I keep seeing on Facebook every so often. It talks about when we remove the I. When we remove the I and start talking about we, then illness becomes wellness. When it's not so much about I and how bad I feel and what I want, and we talk about we, what's good for we, a world that works for all, then illness becomes wellness. So, you know what this is? Tapestry. So, let's read together first. Ready?
It is right and necessary that we should be individuals. If two persons bring back their life, one would be unnecessary in the scheme of things. Emerson said that imitation is suicide. The divine spark never made any two things alike. No two rose bushes, two snowflakes, 2 grains of sand, nor 2 persons. We are all just a little unique. For each wears a different face, but behind each is the one presence, God. Unity does not mean uniformity. Unity means that everything draws its strength, its power, and its ability to live from one source. One life does not flow through everything, but this life is never anonymous. It is forever doing new things in you and in me.
What's his word? And what was that unique thing meaning? One. God being all there is, then that means how it is showing up, incarnating itself in, through, and out. Every one of us, each and every one of us is unique. Each and every one of us is the divine spark of all that is, showing up in, through, and as us. What did it say? If 2 people who were the same were to show up, one of them would be obsolete. Like why are you here? Then you go. Like one of us would not need to be here. If there were 2 Rays and we were both exactly alike in every way, other than the fact that some people would take one of me and put me somewhere else and be like, you're the minister here, you can be the minister there. Matter of fact, can you make 4 more? Other than that, it would be pointless. God's Spirit does not create monotonous. It has no need to. But are we able and willing to celebrate all of the ways that it shows up as this amazing tapestry of variety, diversity? Because imagine if there's this whole tapestry idea. The tapestry said, oh, hold on. Blue threads and red threads, we're not doing blues and reds. We're not accepting blues and reds. The tapestry simply allows the threads to be interwoven. And what we know is that as the threads come together, they become stronger. So let's pause for a moment and think about this community, this spiritual home. You know, when I was a Christian, we would talk about our church homes. Spiritual home. Are we doing this, moving from this direction to this direction? Or are we moving from this direction to this direction? Are there people in our community who do not feel included, who do not feel welcome, who do not feel a part of? We had 4 communities come together and become one. They became united, unified, unification, unity. And yet, are there people within the mix who feel, I like Reverend Ray, I love the music, the interpreters are cool to watch and all, but I don't feel like I matter. Very few people speak to me. You know, they might say hi or whatever, but no one engages me. No one wants to know me. And if we're going to talk about home, then on some level we have to get beyond all of those superficial things that separate us and start seeing what unifies us. Understanding that every single one of us has a variety of experiences and backgrounds and skills and all of that stuff. And that there will be moments of personalities brushing against and butting of heads. It's going to happen. We are human. And yet, we don't have to let that be the thing that breaks us. Because what we know is that you take a rough gem and you put it in a tumbler and it becomes smooth and shiny. We know that the diamond becomes more valuable by being chipped at. So are we allowing ourselves to be chipped at? Are we allowing ourselves to be old so that the magnificence of our being as a human, as a spiritual being, all of that can shine forth? Or are we still running from? We are all connected to each other biologically, to the earth chemically, to the rest of the universe anatomically, Neil deGrasse Tyson, to which I add, to the all of all, divinely and spiritually. We are all connected to each other. Hard stop. We are all connected to each other. Period. We are all connected to each other. Exclamation point. But how are we connected? We are connected biologically. We share DNA. You cut anybody open and you're going to pretty much see the same kinds of things. You're not going to cut me open and find no heart at all and 4 livers and 16 lungs. It's not going to happen. Biologically, we are the same. We are connected. We are connected to the earth. Chemically, the same chemicals on the periodic chart are found within us in many ways. We are all connected. To the rest of the universe, anatomically, we are all connected to each other. Hard stop. But it's easier to not be connected. It's easier to see somebody on the other side of a bridge. So I love these pictures of these dancers showing how through the power of dance they are able to be a tree. That they are moving in unison, connected together to celebrate life. And they are demonstrating this concept, the tree. How many of us know our family tree? You know your family tree? At least some of it. Some aspect of it maybe. Some of us may not. But the idea is we have a family here. So whether that's the biological family tree we understand and know, or the spiritual family tree that we know, there is a family tree nonetheless. There is a family tree for wherever we grew up, meaning there's a family tree for those who grew up in Texas. There's a family tree, meaning every person that went into how you got where you are is part of your family tree. One of the things and this happens in many homes, but in many black homes, there is this thing that is emphasized very, very much. You are a representative of this family. When you leave this house, you represent me and your mother. You are the ambassador for this family. Show up well. You represent your grandparents. Show up well. You represent your great-grandparents. Show up well. You represent your ancestors. Show up well. We are accountable. We are made accountable for how we show up. How are we showing up here with one another? So I inverted this thing. So family tree, think of you and how all these folks came to being you. But if you invert it, how all these people, all these things came from God. Instead of us focusing on this, which means separate families, separate states, separate ideologies, when we focus on this other family tree, it's easier for us to see the unity and the connection. That's why when I found this thing, it came to my mind that this is God. And from, like when we do the honoring of the world religions, one tree, many branches, one divine power and presence, and from there, many branches that all are the exact same as the one. So we believe number one, we believe in God the living Spirit Almighty. One indestructible, absolute, and self-existent cause. One, and one. This one manifests itself in, and it's not up here, but I say it, in, through, and as all creation. But is not absorbed by its creation. The manifest universe, everything we see, everything we touch, the manifest universe is the body of God. It is the logical and necessary outcome of the infinite self-knowingness of God. Are we willing and able to look around more and see God everywhere? 6, we believe in the unity of all life and that the highest God and the innermost God is one God. The highest, most, and the innermost is one God. We believe that God is personal to all who feel this indwelling presence. Are we willing to go there and feel the indwelling presence? And then lastly, 11, we believe in our own soul, our own spirit, and our own destiny, for we understand that the life of all is God. So if we want to talk about a human family, and we want to talk about, going past that, we want to talk about this idea of what it means to come together, then we have to move past this idea of separation and segregation and distance and start unifying and start seeing how we are creating home sweet home. One of the things that in the Wiz, un momento por favor, because I want to make sure I read this. So, in the Wiz, Glenda, the Good Witch, played by Lena Horne, she's telling Dorothy right before Dorothy clicks her heels, if we know ourselves, then we're always home anywhere we are. If we know ourselves, then we are home anywhere we are. So then, home sweet home is right now where you're sitting. And one of the things we say is home is where the heart is. Your heart chakra, that love energy, is right now where you are. There is nothing else that needs to be added or taken away. It's who you are. It's what you are. And Scripture says, the Bible says, for where your treasure is, then your heart is also. Are we willing to sit down at the table of oneness and unity and start seeing our brothers and sisters from across the table as we break bread? Are we willing to lay down all of the reasons that we are separate, all of the animosity and all of the hate? Are we willing to be so bold, whether it was legitimate or not, but to be so bold as to do what Botham's brother did by coming down from the stand and hugging the woman who killed his brother, because he said, it's what my brother would have done. It's what my brother would want. No judgment, because that's happening. But can we get to a place where we are able to say, I see the separation and distance between you as killer and you as a child of God. What you did was wrong. But I'm not going to judge you. I'm going to see you for the truth of who you are. Can we do that? And I'm not saying do that for everybody externally. I'm saying, can we do it for ourselves first? Can we be so bold and willing to forgive and love ourselves and hug ourselves and move past that? Let's pray. Anchoring into this breath. Surrendering to this breath. I speak what I know. That which God is all there is. One power and one presence. The infinite I am incarnating itself in, through, and as all that is, including me right here and right now. And what is true for me must be true for everyone in this room, and everyone in this room knows. God is all there is. And all that God is, being all there is, then that means love is all there is. Power and presence is all there is. Unity is all there is. For that which God is cannot be separate, cannot be unconnected, cannot be broken. God is only a unified force of power, a wholeness that is whole and holy and complete and perfect, and that which it is, I am. That which it is, all are. Right here and right now. So I speak these words knowing that the perfection and the wholeness and the completeness of God, of Spirit, of Source, of the one mind, of life itself is right now showing itself. Right now shining forth. Right now loving forth. Right now walking the walk of demonstration of God on earth. That every thought, every word, every action, every single interaction, person by person, thought by thought, word by word, and deed by deed, we are right now making this a world that works for all. Right here and right now, in conscious, intentional creation, that which is spoken is already in the mind of God. It is already in the law. It is already fully formed and fully functioning. This is a world that works for all. And right now, I surrender and allow that which this life is. There is but one life. That life is God's life. That life is infinite and creative and loving and joyful. And that life is my life now. And so I surrender and allow this life to do what it must do to let me, allow me, move me into this thing called human family, that I may cherish each and every one, that I may love each and every one, that I may forgive when I need to forgive, that I may support when I need to support, that I do what is mine to do to demonstrate and manifest a world that works for all. Knowing this is in the mind of God already, fully formed and fully functioning, I step back and allow it to be. And together as a human family, together as a spiritual family, together in this place that is our spiritual home, we declare it by saying, and so it is. Amen.